and welcome to Friday. Today we're starting our morning off at Tiananmen Square. I think this was supposed to be tomorrow with the Forbidden City and the Summer Palace, but because there's a military parade going on next month, there's rehearsals, so a lot of things are getting shut down tomorrow in the city.
So directly behind me is Tiananmen Gate, and you'll see Chairman Mao's portrait on it. The reason that has significance here in Tiananmen Square is that Chairman Mao, 70 years ago, as of October 1st, stood on that building and declared that there would be a new China. So this is obviously a big celebration. This is also the reason why everything's getting closed down for the military parade, is because this is obviously a very important spot. Actually, Tiananmen Square just in general was huge. It kind of feels like, in some ways, at least size-wise, comparable to the National Mall in DC. And it also has about the same amount of importance. So for example, behind me over here, that's the National Museum of China, and that's kind of equivalent to like our Smithsonian in DC. They've got all sorts of like historical artifacts and relics and stuff like that. On the other side, behind me here, that's the monument for everyone who gave their lives in the war from 1840 to 1949, establishing the new China. And then behind that is the Parliament building, where members of Parliament for China come and decide on laws. And then back here, again, Tiananmen Square is very big. This is basically where Mao is embalmed. And our tour guide was telling us to go in there and actually like see inside. You have to do all sorts of stuff. Like you can't take a camera, you can't take a backpack, you have to be searched. They're trying to make sure that basically nothing happens to Mao's remains or anything inside of that building. But this area is super interesting. It's super big, and apparently it stretches for quite a while. There's a whole lot to see here.
So we've been entering through what was the Forbidden City, and now we're about ready to go into what's considered the modern Forbidden City. And our guide said something about how like they wanted people to have to walk through all this so they felt a sense of awe when they would meet the emperor.
And we have a legend, a story about the number of the rooms in the Forbidden City. So the fact of the number of the room is about 8,800 rooms in the Forbidden City. But according to this story, in the Forbidden City, there are totally 9,999 and a half rooms. What's the reason? Talking about originally, the emperor tried to make Forbidden City totally 10,000 rooms. 10,000 rooms, but his advisor told him, according to our mythology, Jade Emperor, God of heaven, his palace has 10,000 rooms. In China, Emperor for human being proclaimed himself son of God of heaven. So as son, you're supposed to pay respect to your father. You're not supposed to have the same size of palace as your dad. So the emperor decided to change his idea from 10,000 rooms to 9,999 and a half to pay respect to his father. But the fact is about 8,800 rooms, so it's big. That's the reason we call Forbidden City.
So we're walking ever further into the Forbidden City, and our guide told us something very interesting. The building behind me is apparently very important, and the reason you can tell is the amount of little statuettes it has on the corners. This is the only building in China that has 10, meaning it is very important. Throughout China, you'll see different buildings with different numbers of statues, but not 10. So there's even other ones in this courtyard that have less, 5 or 6 or whatever, but this is the only one with 10. So like 2 or 3 times a year they will have certain events in this building, and in olden times the emperor would have like big banquet halls or coronations occasionally. After the Forbidden City, we had a quick lunch, jumped on the bus for a little bit, and then we arrived at the Summer Palace. And I didn't get a whole lot of video there. The Summer Palace was so crowded, dear God. But the general idea of it was this was a place that the Emperor would go during the summer months because it was incredibly hot. And the cool breeze off of the lake would make the Emperor feel better, basically. It was a cool place, but there may have been more people there than any of the other things we've done this trip, honestly. After that, it was a long bus ride back to the hotel, and that's where I'm at now. So in a little bit, we're going to be having our fancy dinner. The fancy dinner is Peking duck, which is like a specialty of Beijing, and that's exciting. I've never had Peking duck. Mal, have you?
No.
No, so it's going to be new for you as well? Mm-hmm. So we have a little bit of time to rest, and I need to. I was like falling asleep on the bus. I feel like for the most part, Mal and I have been getting enough sleep, but when you wear yourself out every day physically, and, you know, especially like, even if you're getting enough sleep, it's not like enough compared to the physical work that you're doing, like walking around and staying alert and seeing all these new things. So I think we've been getting probably like 7 hours usually on most nights. Mm-hmm. There's been a few nights where it's been a little less when we've had to wake up real early. So doing that and then just being completely physically exhausted, I'm so wiped out. I was falling asleep on the bus, so I'm going to use this opportunity to nap, and then we get to have a very special dinner.
So salute everyone, cheers, thank you very much. Yeah, happy Mooncake Festival, okay, everyone. Yeah, ganbei. Yeah.
That's wicked.
So we're here at the restaurant having Peking duck, and this is the duck over here, and it's delicious, and we don't have any more wrappers, but it's really good. You put it in this little wrapper with plum sauce and onion and cucumber, and it's very tasty. And after we finished the duck, and we're all full, all the rest of this food came out, so there's so much food.
God, I am so full. I am so full. Are you full?
I'm so full.
Like how full?
Very full.
My lord. I think the wildest thing about that meal, and like all of the meals in China have been excess food. But this one in particular was wild because we were going to get Peking duck. Like that was the whole point of the meal. And whenever we first got there and we sat down at the tables, like they just kept bringing the duck out, so we kept eating the duck. And the way that you do it, I know I didn't film it, but the way you do it is they bring out these, like, I'm gonna call them tortillas because that's that's what I know them as, like really thin tortillas, and you put a little bit of duck in them, some of this sauce, it's like a bean sauce with cucumber and onion, and they're delicious. They're basically little duck burritos, and I must have eaten like 12.
They were so good.
They were delicious, but the problem was I was filling up on those because they just kept bringing out duck. And then our tour guide, Joe, was like, all right, now they're going to start bringing out like all the other courses. And I'm like, what other courses? And then there was a bunch of other food. It just kept coming. And there was so much, and like, I was sitting next to Mark, and he was in the same boat where he had probably eaten 10 of these little, duck burritos, and we were both already stuffed before any of the other food came out. Then we had to like really push ourselves to eat this food, and about the time that we thought we were going to explode, Joe was like, all right, there's only like 2 or 3 more dishes. And I'm like, how is there this much food? And everything was delicious. Like, it was a really good meal. And this is actually, the place we ate and the dinner that we had was supposed to be our final meal. But again, we talked about it earlier because the military parade is happening, and they have to do practice or whatever, and this parts of the city are kind of shutting down so they can practice the military parade. We had to swap our Saturday and Friday events. So this should have been like our last dinner, our farewell dinner, and instead we had it tonight. So tomorrow night for dinner, I hate to be like, it won't be as good, but like it'll be just kind of a normal meal. But it was, it was a great dinner. It was wonderful. It was a really cool day. Actually, Mal, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like today was actually one of my favorite days just because we got to be in Tiananmen Square.
That was super interesting, and like the Forbidden Palace was super interesting.
Yeah.
And so was the Summer Palace.
Yeah.
Even though they were all super busy today.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, the Forbidden City was cool. And I liked that part. It went on and on and on, and like, I get it. I understand why it did. And it was neat, and it had a lot of historical significance. But I think for me personally, just walking through Tiananmen Square was wild because that is China. Like seeing the big Tiananmen Gate with the picture of Chairman Mao, like that's, to me, that is that has always been the embodiment of China. And to actually be there was a really cool feeling, and also like weird feeling. Like, oh, I'm here. Like This is it. Like I'm standing here. It was a really interesting experience. Anyway, so tomorrow is actually our final day in China. Tomorrow we, it's all the stuff that we were originally going to do today, but the days got swapped. We are going to be seeing the Great Wall tomorrow, and we're going to be seeing some pandas tomorrow as well. We're going to the Beijing Zoo. And we're not going to be doing like an entire zoo day because apparently the zoo is huge, but we are going to be seeing the pandas. And I think there's some other odds and ends things. So yeah, it's been a good trip. I'm looking forward to tomorrow because the Great Wall is kind of the other thing you think of when you think of China, and it should be a very fun day. And I'm also kind of glad that we're finishing dinner. I mean, not like super early, but early enough that I should be able to get a proper night's rest because I've been real exhausted. So I'm looking forward to getting plenty of sleep tonight. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, let's meet back tomorrow, shan't we?